Someone left a comment that reminded me to talk about this. He says, random question, but my girlfriend is experiencing her first episode of schizophrenia. She has never been through anything like this and she's hallucinating really bad. She already went to the doctor and got medicine, but it takes a little while for it to get in her system enough to work. I've never known anyone in real life to go through this. How should I handle her when she's hallucinating? So, if you know the Aku anime lore, it's recent lore too. I was in a relationship with somebody for quite a long time who had serious mental health issues. And even after the relationship, I still attached to the environment because I'm used to it. Like, I'm so used to dating someone who is borderline, quote, insane, that I ended up, as of recent videos will tell you too, I ended up going on dates with women who are also insane. Like, I clearly have a type because I'm so used to this, right? And I think I'm still attached to the past despite trying to move on. I was able to handle it most of the time. Even with friends, I tend to be friends or closer to people who aren't really normal as society standards would say. I don't think about fixing them or saving them, but something feels comforting about intense and unpredictable personalities with me. Yet people who are normies, I find them to be very boring and I have very little interest in building a connection with them. I share this because I just want to set the stage for this question and this topic. This isn't really unfamiliar territory to me. Something I've always kept in mind, though, that completely changed how I deal with people is I remember I was on the phone with somebody and he was telling me about his past, right? When he was going through a major divorce and an alcohol addiction issue, he used to study a lot of Eastern philosophy. And he says something he learned was that people always have this false narrative and misunderstanding where in Buddhism, for example, people think that suffering is pain. The truth is, suffering is an identity crisis. And I said, right? Huh? How is suffering an identity crisis? And he's like, Andre, it is commonly taught among monks that we chase pleasures or avoid discomfort because we're trying to fill a gap, not of just desire, but of identity. Buddhist scholars and Eastern philosophers believe that all human beings are inherently broken and incomplete. We're all broken and unfinished deep inside. And when we have or we find moments of peace, compassion, and love, when we find those moments, it doesn't necessarily mean we will be happy, but it means we enter a neutral state. Peace, compassion, and love don't bring happiness. People think it does. It brings neutrality. Human beings, we carry shame, abandonment, and trauma, and we let it sit in meditation of our everyday lives. And because of that, we quietly wonder, subconsciously, if we are allowed to find self-worth at all. And since we quietly wonder this from a deep subconscious level, we crave and attach to things in this world. And truth be told, we're not afraid of death. People think that we are oftentimes. We're not really afraid of death. We're afraid that we don't deserve to be healed in our lifetime. And because of this, we suffer. Not only because desire leads to attachment, but because we don't believe we are worthy of love, compassion, and peace in the first place. The root of all human suffering is feeling you don't deserve love. So when he said that to me, that last sentence, the root of all human suffering is feeling you don't deserve love, I wrote that down in my notes. I have like a huge file where I write down a bunch of quotes that I look through when I feel or when I need the motivation to go through something, right? Ever since he shared that with me, every time I see someone suffering through a mental health crisis or they're dealing with an addiction or a dark moment in their life, that quote is repeated in my head. And I think to myself, rather than give them a boo-hoo or wow, I feel bad for you, instead of just giving somebody pity, I start wondering, how can I make this person feel loved, feel like they're important, feel like they're cared for? How come this person is letting something that they're struggling with define their existence? How come this person is letting a failure that they went through become fatal to who they are? And how come progress for them feels hollow? Success feels hollow. Like they feel no love within themselves to believe they deserve success or progress in their life. So, like, going back to this comment about this individual's girlfriend going through a mental health crisis here with the schizophrenia and so forth, right? Think about everything I'm saying here. I'm not saying you're doing this, by the way, but I'm just giving a perspective. Instead of judging her or giving her a boo-hoo pat on the back or just pitying her or just being like, I support you, you know what I'm saying? Look at it from the ideology I shared in this video. Your girlfriend probably feels like, consciously or subconsciously, that she's losing trust in her own mind. She's losing trust in her own intuition, her own thoughts, her full self. And this is the main point here. And this applies to anybody who you meet in the future, even though their reality is different from yours. What's not going to fix her is telling her what's real and what's right. What's going to help her through it and feel supported is knowing that someone is still going to care and love her unconditionally. She might feel confused or feel like she's, quote, too much because she's losing herself. And that's reflecting onto everything else in her reality. But if you remain calm, grounded, and just be there without pushing judgment, that's all that's needed here. That's all you can really do. You can't fix this problem necessarily of hers, you know what I'm saying? But this is what you can do. And plus, I mentioned this in an older video. I feel like there's a deep biological engraving in women where they feel like they feel the need to feel safe and protected by somebody. And being that grounded presence who loves unconditionally, that will help her get through it a lot. That will make her feel safe. That will make her feel protected. That will make her feel like, yo, you're her man and feel much closer to you. Medication takes time to stabilize things. But if your presence is negative, judgmental, and not grounded, it won't help her feel any better about anything. And then that will add more stress to it. And then she will suffer even more, which I'm sure you don't want, right? Because she doesn't feel like she deserves love, compassion, or peace, since she's, quote, too much, since she's creating disharmony for everyone around her because she's having schizophrenic episodes, she's hallucinating, she's doing this and that, right? In moments like this, and again, this applies to anybody. You can apply this to any situation. In moments where someone may feel unlovable or beyond your reach, your love and compassion for them will tell them otherwise, that you're not going to make their situation even worse. And I should take my own advice, because sometimes I only learned this like a few months ago. In the past, sometimes I would make situations worse when someone's going through something, you know what I'm saying? And this goes to another topic where people's egos and pride get in the way of this. But a lot of people think that they're handling someone's suffering correctly. If someone is suffering or going through something and you're lashing out or showing excessive judgment, or you seem intolerable or unhappy with their existence, you're not helping them at all. And you're also letting them destroy your own peace. And even though that may be true, right? They're destroying your peace. You can't always blame other people for how you chose to handle or react to a situation. You know, it's all a lesson we need to learn. We all handle or react to things inappropriately at times, but you can only control what you can control. Even if you reacted poorly or handled it poorly, or your decision making was massively disagreed with, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging what you could have done better, even if you feel you're right still in what you did, that you handled, right? You may be right, but everyone's saying that, hey, listen, I don't agree with that. You know, you can't just be like, well, I did nothing wrong. That's when someone says I did nothing wrong, I immediately know something's wrong with your ego. Like your ego's out of this world or something like that, or you're too prideful. Like there's always something that you can acknowledge you could have done better or handled better about a situation. And you can express that internally or to that person, especially if they feel hurt by you. I hope this makes sense. This episode is found on Spotify and YouTube. I'm out.